Now, we've got an influx already of people that are not citizens still claiming their citizenship in their previous country, but also buying land here?
Chinese buyers are dominating foreign purchases of U.S. homes. Grady Trimble joining us from Capitol Hill. How much are they buying, and is Congress going to do anything about it?
Billions of dollars worth, Stuart. And to answer your second question, some lawmakers say Congress does need to do something to stop Chinese nationals from buying up U.S. real estate and to help U.S. citizens to live out the American dream.
Every Chinese citizen is responsible by law to spy on Americans. Okay, so why are we allowing them in our country and buying our land?
I can leave it right there for you. By law, he said it. And he's not just saying, he's not, what's that, Rick Scott? He's not just saying it. Every Chinese citizen is responsible, required when they come over to spy for China. And I take it deeper. It's not even every Chinese citizen. If you're born and you're in China and you're a Chinese national, you still have family over there. They can leverage your family against you to persuade you to do the bidding of the Chinese government. This is different than the U.S. Remember what Robert Kennedy said? John F. Kennedy said? No, John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? That type of mentality has gone out the U.S. We don't have that. But that mentality is still in China. And as a matter of fact, is ingrained into every Chinese national.
To create more opportunities for Americans to buy homes. That's what we should be doing. We should be doing everything we can up here to help Americans afford a home, get a great education for their kids, get a job, and keep them safe.
So here are the numbers from the National Association of Realtors. They say Chinese buyers spent $13.7 billion on homes from April of last year through March of this year. That's a fraction of the total purchases, but an 82.6% increase from the prior year. Most buyers, they say, are using cash and say the purchases are for personal use. This all comes as Chinese entities continue to buy up farmland in the U.S., something former Senator Joe Manchin spoke about when he made his return to Capitol Hill this week.
I applaud the administration for doing everything they can to shut down China, get them out of the United States of America. They're never going to have our values. The only thing is reciprocate. Just reciprocate, that's all. Try to go over in China and buy property.
And a bipartisan group of lawmakers just introduced legislation that would increase oversight of foreign ownership on farmlands. Stu, maybe something else could be in the works to deal with these purchases of real estate in the U.S., too.
Got it. Grady, thanks very much.
The Trump administration is planning to ban buyers linked to China from purchasing farmland in the U.S. Chinese investors own about 265,000 acres of land.
That's a lot. That 265 acres linked to Chinese, think of it like this. We need this type of land already to grow crops. We don't think we do, but we do. And some people are just ignorant. They live in the city. They only used to go into a store. They don't know anything about buying farmland or farming or what the heck is fresh produce. You eat processed food. This doesn't affect you if that's all you about. But 265 acres of farmland, even at .003, I still say, why the hell are you here? Why are they here buying up farmland? Why? See, when we don't sit back and address these issues, when people like me say, we need voter registration, like, you guys got to validate you are who you say you are, because this shows me that the system is manipulated, that there are holes in the system that allows them, just like Somalis did it in Minnesota, run up the bag. They sent up that money over Somalia. They've been doing it since 2015. This thing with Trump ain't brand new. But since that, even with that. So I got to look at it and say, we need to have some guidelines. We need to have some bumpers put in place, because we cannot go to these countries and buy land and homes and houses and places like they can. We can't go to most of these countries and set up businesses. Don't tell me that's why America's different. America's different because the citizens of America are allowed to do things I'm doing right now, which is sharing with you my thoughts, my ideas, how I feel about it, having open dialogue and discussion. They can't do that in their country. Don't be deceived and don't let anybody lie to you. They can't do that. You will find that you will disappear really fast in China if you really have an issue with the Communist Party in China. And we have too many ignorant, stupid Americans who don't understand global politics, who haven't looked at past their paycheck that they get on Friday, the beer that they get at the local bar, and the conversations they have in their Facebook group and their little they don't know about that. None of them have been overseas. Most of them haven't. Some haven't traveled over there. And when I see the ones that do these little rinky-dink TikTok videos in China and try to tell me how great and beautiful and how important it is, China is better in this, and Chinese, you're a sellout. That's what I tell you. You're a sellout. Because I am never going to be okay with land, which is already a scarce commodity. We already have U.S. citizens that don't own land and should own it. And to me, I sit back and I wonder why every black person who needs reparations isn't against this. This takes up your 40 acres and a mule. Okay? You can't get 40 acres if they got 265,000 acres that they just bought randomly. Hell, to advocate just like that. And there's no conversation on it. And people who mention it, they say we're conspiracy theorists. We're crazy.
In perspective, that is a fraction of 1% of the farmland in the U.S. You can see the exact number on your screen. But this move also applies to other foreign adversaries. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rawns says this ban is necessary to keep Americans safe.
American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us.
Kate Cadell joins us now. She's a national security reporter for The Washington Post who has been...
They're using our system against us.
...following this story. Kate, thanks so much for being with us. You know, as we mentioned, this really is just such a small amount of farmland we're talking about here. What is the administration's reasoning on how this could be a threat?
So the big threat around Chinese investment in U.S. farmland is about proximity to military bases, and that's really what sort of kicked off this spark of concern. So I guess the concern there is that Chinese investors, if they were coerced by the Chinese government, could conduct espionage or surveillance from this land. They could surveil troop movements, things like that. And the big case that sparked concern was a Chinese company in North Dakota that bought a lot of land close to an air base up there. There's also a less realistic threat about, you know, if a country like China owns a lot of the food supply chain, then in a time of crisis, they could restrict that and affect the food supply in the U.S.
Is there any sense that American farmers will be impacted by this? Could they see any benefit? Will there be any real effect on prices Americans see at the grocery store from this?
No, I don't think so. Just because of exactly what you mentioned, which is that Chinese investors, in truth, own so little land in the US. And in fact, in the past 4 or 5 years, they've actually reduced the amount of land they own by almost a third. And that's got more to do with factors around Chinese regulations than US regulations. Also, about a third of that land is owned by a single supplier, which is Smithfield Foods. And they primarily actually serve the US market. They also employ around 43,000 US employees. So I suppose one of the effects would be it would affect those people employed by Smithfield.
And Kate, as you know, there is bipartisan support for taking on China. How much is that driving the Trump administration's decision making here?
I'd say that has a very big impact. There is an aspect of saber rattling here. There's no downsides for a lawmaker in the U.S. to go after China. And if you look at the way that Republican lawmakers talk about China, that's very clearly one aspect of it. To be clear, I mean, this would be a very different situation if China owned a huge amount of farmland. They don't own a huge amount of farmland, and Chinese agents have spied on military bases. We see cases like this all the time, but typically it doesn't come from farmland. In fact, we have never seen a known case of Chinese agents spying or cases where farmland's been used to spy on military bases. What we do see is it's usually people just traveling to these bases and taking photos under tourist visas and work visas.
Wow.
Kate Goodell, thank you very much for joining us.
Traveling to the farmland, traveling to the bases, taking photos outside of the bases, being here on visas. So they're here on a visa. Now, I raise this concern, and I say it because we already have Chinese nationals, people that were born in China and raised here, advocating for certain things that you would not see. I wouldn't normally sit back and say, hey, that person, just because they're Chinese don't mean that they spy for China. Oh, just because they're Spanish don't mean that they work for the cartels or something like that. That's, people don't normally walk around thinking that. We look at people and we judge them based on their character, how they move, and accept people just for who they are and who they give themselves out to. But the problem that I have, the thing that I keeps I don't know, it just keeps making me think about this. I keep thinking about how they're just required to spy for China if you were born there. If you're a national of China, you're just required to spy. So we've got Chinese national, we've got a Chinese congressman, and it wouldn't be a bad issue. It wouldn't be a bad issue. Even after we spoke about this, it wouldn't even be anything to even have a conversation. But when he starts talking like this is Gene Wu, representative coming out of Texas. When Gene Wu starts talking like this, I start scratching my head.
Now let's stay with the increasingly radical Democrats. This is the minority leader of the Democrats in the Texas House, Gene Wu. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but he seems to be advocating for some sort of race war against white people.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. Because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided.
He's saying two things that keep making me think China. He's talking about rising up against the oppressor. He's also talking about fractional divides in minorities and them coming together. This is definitely a way how you can topple a government or take over. You take all the minority groups, you bring them together. You said you're being brought down by an oppressor. We need to make it fair. Fair is the pivotal point. That's an anchor block in socialism. Communism. Because in communism, and also in socialism, there's a place where all of the power comes from one place, centralized power, and we want it to be fairly distributed. We want people to fairly have access to all these fair things. All these things, they got to be fairly distributed to everyone. And as someone who says, yeah, there are a lot of injustices done, but I don't believe it's enough injustices done in this country to remove our political system, to change it, to completely change it, to rise up against white people. Hold on. I like some of these white people. I don't have a problem with some of these white people. Hold on. Oh no. What white people you got problems with? None of them came to me and did anything to me or attacked me. Yeah, I got some clown neighbors. I got one particular clown neighbor, but so what? The Joker can't beat me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Who cares? But this is the propaganda that someone who is a sitting U.S. congressperson, sitting representative, is actually spewing out. And the light bulb in my head starts to go off when I said, oh, he was born in China. Oh, he went to school here. Oh, he became a naturalized citizen. Dang. You mean to tell me his wife is Chinese and she was born in China too? See, being born in China wouldn't be an issue if you were talking about we moved to America, we love this country gave us a brand new way, it opened doors for us. We just want to support America and be just a support to, we love this country. But no, it's not. It's we need to take the white people out of this country. We need to change it. That does sound like a race war. You want me to rise up because we're fractionalized, we're factions in there until you wake up and see it. See, that feeds the appetite of a lot of black people that are power to the people. But most of those people who do that, they've never been in any type of physical conflict most of the time. They've probably had a couple fights growing up, but they've never been in a straight out war. Never had to raise guns and do anything like that. Never served most of the time in the military. See that certificate back there? That Army medal? They never did any of that. But they advocate for overthrowing something they have no idea for. And they will rally behind people, anybody that will listen to them and go for their victim mentality. Like, oh, we're victims, yes. This free world that allows freedom of speech, yeah. Damn. I want China. Their freedom of speech is better than ours.
Oh, no.
We have the ability to take over the country. John, what do you make of that sort of rhetoric?
Well, that kind of racism is really antithetical to the American ideal and to American history. And by the way, whites are still a clear majority in the United States. I'm not sure what he's talking about. And he's right to the extent that he says that the idea of a minority coalition is really a fantasy. If you look at the 2024 election, President Trump's best demographic was American Indians. His second best demographic was Asians, and he virtually tied with Kamala Harris with Hispanics. And so the good news, Rita, is that most minority voters in America are not falling for this kind of racist nonsense.
Well, that is an excellent point, because Trump has been so successful in fracturing some of those voter blocks that the Democrats have almost taken for granted. They've just assumed if you're a minority, if you're Hispanic, if you're of any sort of racial background that's a minority in America, you must vote for the Democrats. And Donald Trump has proved.
And I'm going to stop it right here. That's one reason why I believe everything taking place in Minnesota, they're pulling out of Minnesota now. They said they're reducing the amount of DHS and Border Patrol personnel that's there. But when you go against the Democratic Party and you attack their voting base, first you attack their money. Now you're attacking their voting block. And they're not going to be happy about it, because they get their votes from bringing people in. They get their votes from converting people who are minorities, came over here through financial distress, to being on their side, because, hey, we got a bunch of free programs over here. Let me get you some free programs. Get you some free stuff. You need some free stuff? Here's some free stuff. Here's some free stuff.
Congratulations. Well done.
Everybody needs some free stuff. You get free stuff. You get free stuff. You get free stuff. And this is where this is what we face. So when I started researching Republican, now he's not even Republican. I apologize. He is senator. Well, not even senator. He's a congressman out of Texas. Wu wasn't born in the States. 78. I mean, born at 78, 47 years old. Zhengdao, China. Democrat Party. 2 children. Married in 2012. Went to Texas A&M. University of Texas, Austin. South Texas College of Law. See, the reason it makes it hard for me to trust anyone that's like that is because the full regime is about overthrowing and taking full first place in the country, in the world. And who do you eliminate? You eliminate United States. Who do you bring in to do it? People who are here that are of your nationality that you know. How do you do it? You leverage their family against them. We got your cousin, we got your grandmama, we got your uncle, we got that naughty head little niece that you got. You saw the pictures that came to you. So you need to just do what we tell you to do. You need to play along with the People's Republic of China. You need to do that. You need to do that. If you don't, matter of fact, we're gonna pair you with another Chinese national that's there, and she's gonna become what? An Emmy award-winning journalist, ABC Houston. This is his wife. Currently, nobody aims to be racist, to be segregist, to say nasty and rude things about people. Nobody aims for that. I think that's the worst thing that you can do, is just to attack somebody based on how they look and their color and their creed or their belief. Whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, I worship where you want to worship. But damn, when you start talking about removing people that are in power and removing political systems in order to fit your narrative of injustice, let's line this up right. You're not playing America. You're not playing fair. You're not in no way, shape, or form do I see you as a patriot. I don't see you as someone that cares and loves the country. I just see you as someone that wants to cause turmoil, overthrow, cause confusion in the country. Why? Because most people who come here and born here, who come here, the people who come here and go through the work of becoming a citizen, they do it because they love America. They want America to continue to thrive, to stay in place. Yeah, we got bad apples. Yeah, we know the system isn't perfect. Yeah, we know there's some stuff that goes wrong. Yeah, we know we got protesters, crazy stuff. Everybody shouting is very polarizing. But one thing you can be sure of is, unlike some other countries, nobody's knocking on your door because you have an opinion that doesn't fit others, whether they're in power or they're minorities. That's what makes America different. I do believe that if we're going to do this situation when it comes to voter ID, we do need to have some verification that you are a citizen of the country. And if you don't have it through birth certificate, I say now is a great time to go get it.